All right. I feel like I've done a video on individualism versus collectivism, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do another one because why not? As I watched a bit of an old video that Zoltanus uploaded that was done by Braving Ruin on on how individualism ate itself. I should have known since it had Stefan Molyneux at the beginning, but yeah. Individualism versus collectivism. Well, I think that you can have, there's plenty of overlap. You can be an individual that stands out from the crowd in a good way. And you can also be someone who is part of a larger thing and represents that collectivist mindset within a group. You know, think about it like this. You know, being a force multiplier in like the Green Berets, right? That's the whole point of the Green Berets. They learn these specific skills of blowing stuff up or intelligence or whatever the case may be. And they go to foreign countries and they teach these specific skills enough to other people so that they can figure stuff out, right? But they are still part of a collective of being a Green Beret. They're still part of that brotherhood, if you will, right? So I think that, like I say, to me, individualism and collectivism are two sides of the same coin. I think that people try to split this coin in half, but I don't really think you can do that easily. My thing is this is individualism is that both can be done to extremes just like anything else. The United States overall is an extremely individualist country. Now, you could argue that it became that way because of capitalism, and I wouldn't disagree with you. But it's also in the sense that the United States naturally destroys bonds. Now, some can say that this is kind of the nature of the country, that, if you want to look at it from an extremely anti colonialist view, is that the United States was always this way and is forced to break up all groups of people and, distance themselves, whether it was through slavery, destroying the bonds that they had to their African tribes, or whether it was the Irish and the Italians becoming white and losing their connection to Ireland and to Italy, which is somewhat true, but also somewhat wrong. Depends on who you talk to, right? Collectivism can serve the purpose of providing the base needs for everybody. It's also a sense of companionship and a sense of, I may not like you, but you're one of us, you know? I think in America, in the United States anyway, I'll say it that way. I apologize for using that term America. It is the United States. America comes from Amerigo Vespucci, but also comes from, it's like there's the Americas, like I say, North America or South America. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. There is a collective, but it's a false astroturf sort of collectivism, based more around the culture of the time, right? And being a Zoomer or being a millennial or whatever the case may be, or even being in the military. It's a form of collectivism in the United States, but it's a very different thing. I'm going to stay in my own lane and say the United States because I think it's dangerous if I really start talking about other countries that I know nothing about. And I've made a fool of myself enough. I'm sorry, I'm shivering a little bit here. So that's why I'm kind of, but anyway. So I think that individualism in the United States, I mean, I think about it like this. Simple couple of lines, couple of bars from the late prodigy of Mob Deep, but you all alone in these streets, cousin. Every man for theyself in this land we be gunning. That whole, those couple of bars represent what America is. You all alone in these streets, cousin. You know, it's every man for themselves, and everybody is ready to start shooting motherfuckers up. You know, it's that simple, right? You better join a crew. And so that was the collectivism that came about in the United States, right? So if you're Chinese, you join. Or what? You know what? Let me not be racist. So I want to make sure here, and this is very specific to like San Francisco. But if you're a young guy and you're not making enough money, you join one of the gangs, right? So you join like the Joe Boys, or you join, you know, the the Wa Ching, or whichever the case may be, right? Same thing with the Italians. You think of Al Capone, who joined the 40 of Thieves, you know, or you look at Jewish gangs as well, or the Puerto Rican, like MS-13 or Norteños, Sureños, you know, or the Irish gangs as well, like I said. And that was the form of collectivism that existed. Of course, ultimately, a lot of that was broken up by money. It was also broken up by, an eventual assimilation in the larger American system. And ultimately, was this really, like I say, there's a genuine collectivism and there's also fake collectivism, just as there's legitimate individualism versus fake individualism. To me, real collectivism is about everybody raising themselves up to a certain level, right? That's the whole original mindset of being a hustler, right? Where yeah, this guy's out here doing foul shit, but guess what? He's gonna make sure his kids go to college. Or he's gonna make sure that his daughter finds herself a good husband, you know, by having means to do that. That was the original idea of it, is that you shouldn't enjoy being a drug dealer. You shouldn't be, like Tony Montana because you want to be. It's because you don't have a choice, right? And the idea is that you eventually grow out of it and become something else. Now, of course, to a point, this did occur. Look at the Kennedys, for example. The Kennedys, of course, Joe Kennedy was a bootlegger. And through that, bootlegging and all that other bullshit that he did, his family became fairly wealthy, right? Playing touch football in Hyannisport and stuff like that, right? That's a whole other story. Um, to me, it's a different sort of mentality. But of course, that is also a form of collectivism. That's the Richie sort of collectivism, where everybody's protected by money. Same thing can be said for royal families and that sort of thing. That's also an aspect of false collectivism, in my opinion. It's based around money. And it's about based on blood, right? Now, to a point, yeah, there, Blood is a part of collectivism in a good way, I think. I'd be very careful with my words in that way, but I think there is that sort of attitude. A real collectivism can be based on language. It can also be based on experience, right? Why is it that, World War II vets, a lot of them becoming, like Hell's Angels, stuff like that, right? Part of a collective. Now, of course, yeah, that got perverted over time, this and that, but, you know, collective is there. More positive example, I would say, would be, yeah, maybe VFW to a point, something like that. But you can still be a stand-up individual within that. So, what about individualism? Individualism. What's false individualism? Well, false individualism would be something like transgenders, because ultimately, it's not really individualism. I think part of it is that you want attention so that you can form a false collective that we're going to defend transgenders and I'm going to be one of them. And they form this sort of false collectivism based on what you feel about, that you have gender dysmorphia or whatever the case may be, you know, or the fact is like, I'm going to, I want to have my personal beliefs where I'm actually pansexual, this and that. It's like, no, you're not. You're just somebody who wants to bang a lot of people. It doesn't mean that you're pansexual. It just means you're a horny motherfucker. How many pansexuals do you see that are like 50 years old? Not many. Young motherfuckers can be pansexual. But you don't see old motherfuckers for the most part be pansexual because nobody wants to fuck some old, fat, balding loser. Nobody wants to do that, right? I think it's interesting when I heard Vosh talk a while back. I know, holy shit, it's been a while since I talked about a couple videos. So, but when he was talking about, well, collectivism versus individualism, he's like, my personal freedoms and all this other bullshit. Get the hell out of here with that. Please stop. I mean, that's my view. Just stop. You know, just stop. um, but yeah, I think that the argument of collectivism versus individualism to me is silly. I think that people can stand out within a group. Maybe I didn't really explain that well enough, but let me try to give an example before I finish up this kind of long ranty video, as most of them are. But for example, you can be, let's say, I mean, I use the military as an example. Let's say even, I don't know. Let's say something like an HVAC guy, right? The HVAC guys, like you can kind of pick out HVAC guys kind of normally, right? They're usually skinny for the most part because they have to crawl through, crawl spaces. They have to be able to crawl through attics and whatnot. And you got to be kind of thin to do that shit. Usually. Usually plumbers are kind of stocky and, you know, kind of chunky, really, and they, fat basically, and they, because they have to be fat to, push down that PVC pipe, right? And so there's a certain physiognomy to it. But you can stand out from that and kind of be, more beefy and whatnot, be a beefy HVAC guy or being a tall, lanky plumber, right? Maybe that was a shit idea. You know what? Screw it. You know what? I'm almost thinking about scrapping this video, but you know what? Screw it. Let's go ahead and put it out there and see what y'all think. And give me your thoughts about individualism or collectivism and see where I missed the mark at. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. See you later. Bye-bye.